Welcome back. I'm Scott with Techno Clips. This is the channel where I change my setup almost every day. In today's video, I want to talk about something that is prevalent and is sort of well known, but I want to dive in deeper and try to explain why it is the way it is. You saw from the title, and this video is going to be all about why Apple still dominates the pro market on the creative side. So I'm Scott with Techno Clips, and I will see you after the intro. To start, I have 6 things I want to go over. The first one is reliability. The second one is ease of use. The third one is the free apps that they supply. The fourth one is support. The fifth one is optimization. And the sixth and final one is design. So to start, let's just go with the first one, reliability. So historically, people have just sort of known Apple products to just be more reliable. They just work. And coming from somebody who has built computers, I've built 5, 6, 7 computers in my time. I've used a bunch of Windows computers, and I've used a bunch of Macs. There's a MacBook sitting right here. I can tell you that this is true. When you build a computer, there is about an hour of computer building, 2 hours of cable management, and and another like 3 hours of just getting the thing to work. There's always something with a Windows computer. That's sort of what I've felt. There's always something. This driver wasn't installed. You need to install this driver. You got to reset Windows. You got to install this update. You got to do this. With macOS, you can run any version of any operating system on any computer that they have that supports it, obviously, and it still just works great. I've never had a problem with it. I don't normally even update my computer right away. I normally just wait a little bit because it's normally fine, and then I just, whenever I have a chance, I get around to updating it. I've noticed that the difference between Apple computers, Macs, and Windows computers is just really reliability. That's like the biggest thing, I think. Obviously, there's more, but from what I think, one of the most important things is reliability. And if you create films, you create music, stuff like that, you want something that just works. You don't want to have to fiddle with drivers, have to download this, download that, whatever. You just want something that actually just works. The next one is ease of use, and this can go both ways. Obviously, you might have been using Windows for longer, and you just think Windows is way easier to use than macOS, and vice versa. Personally, somebody who has used macOS more than they have used Windows, I think macOS is a way more intuitive operating system. I think just simple things like the swipe features is just smooth. The whole operating system is really smooth, and it's hard to explain that other than if you just use a computer. I think the trackpad really helps with the operating system. All the animations, the effects, just make the whole experience really, really smooth and really, really fluid and fun to use. Actually, I think I've enjoyed using a Mac way more than I've used a Windows computer, and the Windows computers I've always had have always been way more powerful than the Macs that I had. I think the free apps, so when you just get started, someone like myself, free apps are great. Apple supplies iMovie, they also supply GarageBand, and these are free apps for creators and that you can do and make pretty decent videos on. Most recently, a lot of my videos have been filmed on an iPhone and actually just been edited on iMovie. Obviously, some people might say, well, you could get free apps on Windows, but they don't have that optimization that you get on a Mac. So for example, a 1080p clip that's like 10 minutes long normally takes about 6 minutes to render on this MacBook Pro, a 2011 i7 MacBook Pro. And when I had a Windows computer with an i5-8400, it was pretty much a 1-to-1 ratio. If it was 10 minutes long, it took about 10 minutes to render out. And that was one of the nicest computers I've ever had. That was a 6-core processor. You know, I could go on and on about how great that computer was. But at the end of the day, I think the free apps that Apple supplies, that Apple supports, that has Apple's optimization, is one of the reasons that new creators, someone like myself, really lean towards Apple, because you know they have these free apps that work really well that you can actually create nice videos and also nice music on. The next one would be support, and this one's relatively obvious because when you build a computer, if something breaks, you have to sort of figure out what it is that broke and then contact that manufacturer. So for example, if you have built a computer with an Intel processor, an MSI motherboard, you have an NVIDIA by EVGA GTX 1060, you don't know what the problem is. The RAM could be from Corsair. Like, you don't know what the problem is, and you don't know who to contact. With Apple, if something's wrong with the computer, as long as it's still supported, this 2011 MacBook Pro is not still supported, but 7 years, I'm okay with that. And as long as it's still supported, Apple will fix the problem for you. It might cost more money this way, but they can get it fixed for you in a timely fashion. They can get it ready and done, because there's only so many problems that can happen with the Mac, because it's only one computer. It's not 5,000 different computers. It's a very basic fix for a lot of these computers, because there's only so many things that can be wrong with the MacBook, because they're all basically built very, very similar, if that makes any sense. Also, you can pretty much drive to an Apple store in North America, at least in the United States, within 40 minutes to an hour, no matter what. There's always one that's about that close. When I lived up in Ohio, there were 2 within 40 minutes, actually 3 within 40 minutes. And now that I live in Florida, there's 1 within 25. So there's always an Apple store around, which is really nice. And because there's not always a Microsoft store or whatever you bought your computer from, if it's a pre-built, there's not always a Dell nearby. You have to go to Best Buy and talk to them. But Apple has their own stores with their own genius support staff, but they are there to help, and they do help a lot of people. As already mentioned, optimization. This is kind of a no-brainer. Final Cut Pro pretty much beats almost any comparable computer that has running Premiere Pro. For example, you get the newest Razer Blade fully spec'd out, and you get the MacBook Pro fully spec'd out, and the MacBook Pro running Final Cut Pro is going to beat that every single time. And that's just because of optimization. Something against Premiere Pro, I actually normally use Premiere Pro to edit, but obviously this computer probably can't handle Premiere Pro at this time. But what I've noticed is that Final Cut Pro pretty much always wins in any rendering test. It's almost just glossed over because it's such a well-known fact, but it's very, very helpful. For example, like Casey Neistat, somebody who daily vlogs or vlogs regularly, wants something that can export really, really fast and that works really, really well, and that he can take from place to place to place, because he can't just sit down at his desk every single day and edit. Sometimes he's got to go here, there, and edit and stuff like that. And they want it to export quickly, and they need this to just work really, really well. That's why they use Mac's computers. It's same with MKBHD. A lot of big-time creators use Macs because of Final Cut Pro and the optimization with the hardware. The last one is design. I think just there's a couple things with the way that a MacBook Pro is actually built. It looks really, really, really good. It really does. I mean, you can't knock the design of a MacBook Pro. They look amazing. Even an iMac Pro, even the cylinder Mac Pro, I mean, they look gorgeous. You can't really question that. Whether the cooling solution is the best, it's probably not. They do look extremely attractive, and just the operating system is also really, really nice to use. I think using Windows and Mac, I've really grown to love macOS just a lot more than Windows. Nothing against Windows, it's a fine operating system. It's the most used operating system on the planet. I have no problem with it. But when you just compare the two from somebody that's used macOS more, that I might be slightly biased, and I have an Apple Watch, and I'm just total Apple sheep. I'm so stupid. I've never built computers. You can't believe anything I say. I already wrote 4 comments down for you in the video. I think the overall design of macOS is just a lot more fluid and just makes more sense to me. Obviously, a lot of people disagree. There are a lot of people who use Windows computers and less people who use Macs. But I think those are the reasons that in 2018, Macs still kind of dominate the Pro market to a point. Obviously, more and more people are starting to realize, man, these are a little underpowered. These are pretty expensive. I don't know if I need this, and this. But at the end of the day, when you think of the computer you need to buy when you want to start filmmaking, what is the first computer that comes to your head? It's normally a MacBook Pro. You could ask anybody, and maybe people that aren't quite involved in like the tech space would disagree and say, well, I could build a computer that's more powerful. But for the most part, if you talk to somebody who's like, oh, I'm thinking about, starting a video edit, I've got to get a MacBook Pro, that's normally the first thing they say. It's like, I got to get a MacBook in order to create videos. I guess that's just maybe the marketing or whatnot, but there is some reason behind what happens. So these are my thoughts. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. Am I an idiot, just a dumb Apple sheep for thinking this. I'm not. I mean, don't be stupid. Like, don't make dumb comments. But obviously, there are reasons that Apple has dominated this part of the market and will probably continue to dominate this part of the market until other companies can actually compete with them. But at the end of the day, it's probably not going to happen because Microsoft would have to come out with their own video editing platform that's not just Windows Movie Maker. So at the end of the day, Apple will probably dominate the pro market for years to come. Maybe some company comes up with some other, I don't know, video editing thing that works really, really well that's widely used. I just can't imagine it happening. So these are my thoughts. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. This has been Scott with Techno Clips. If you liked the video, consider subscribing. If you didn't like the video, consider subscribing. And if you hate my face, consider subscribing. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.